guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm just going to be doing some book stuff. I wanted to start out with my January reading wrap up. I feel like I made this whole declaration in my New Year reset video about how I am going to follow my TBR, stick to my TBR, and I even had a whole section making a nice cute little graphic of my January TBR. And so let's see if I actually did stick to it. That's what we're doing right now. We're definitely going to be reading in this vlog. I want to read a library book that I have due this week. So I want to read that and then we can go to the library and return it, maybe get something new. We're also going to be doing a February TBR. So just doing lots of book stuff, and we're starting with my January reading wrap up and seeing if I read the books or not. I said I was getting strict with myself, so let's see how strict I really was. So I completed 8 books in the month of January, and I've got them all in a stack right here in front of me. And I feel like my ratings were kind of mixed. Like I got more higher ratings than I expected, which is really nice, but then there were a couple that were like just really low, and I feel like it's completely fine though, because I just had a good time reading this month. Like even though there are certain books that were rated low or not the best, I don't know, I was just enjoying the act of reading. I feel like my favorite memory of this month was just getting cozy and reading in bed. Okay, so the first book that I read was Make Me Famous, and I read that on my Kindle. I actually started this one last year. I just finished it in January. Basically, this is a book about a celebrity who is going on a vacation on a really remote island, and it's known as like the escape, like the place to go to escape from fame. And she just wants to go like take a break, but also write her next album. And they even like name drop real celebrities like Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, to show you like how exclusive this remote island vacation is, if that makes sense. Basically, when she gets to that remote island, things start to get weird and things start to go wrong. And I personally feel like I was expecting that to be the focus of the book, and I thought it was going to be like a thrilling type of book. I kind of just expected more of her on the island, because this was mostly focused on her and how she got famous. It literally shows all of her life through when she was in Paris and she was younger and like in high school and stuff. Then she moved to New York for I think around her college years. She was even a bookseller, and then when she actually got famous, she was living in Los Angeles. It showed like her startup, her first tour, stuff like that. And I guess the things, all of the intense things that she was doing to make herself famous, because it wasn't this like natural thing. She was very much forcing it. And I guess all of that was quite thrilling, but yeah, the book was more focused on her journey to fame, and I just didn't expect that. Honestly, we were only on that island for like the beginning of the book and the end of the book, and we saw what went on the island in those parts, but most of it was reading like a memoir almost. I remember thinking all of her unhinged methods to getting famous was like, that was kind of interesting. It was weird, but like interesting. And the ending of this book also got me, I can't lie. I didn't really expect that, so it wasn't the worst thing ever. It just wasn't what I expected. I also read another book by this author. I read My Husband by the same author, and I actually really liked this book. I think I rated this book 4 stars, and this one I rated 2.5, so not my favorite. And I don't really think you would be missing anything if you didn't pick this one up. And if you wanted to read a book by this author, I honestly would recommend My Husband more than Make Me Famous. Okay, so the first book that was actually on my January TBR that I got to was Broken Country. And this is a book about a woman named Beth and the 2 men that she's loved in her life. And it just shows this really extremely complex dynamic between the 3 of them. The first scene, and this isn't a spoiler because this is in the description, it starts out with Beth's brother-in-law shooting a dog, and it turns out that that dog belonged to her past love, Gabriel. And that kind of sets off all these events that happens in this book, and it leads to Gabriel being back in their lives, and it leads to Beth spending more time with him. And so that really just sets off a whole chain reaction. We're reading this book and it's showing chapters of the past when her and Gabriel first ever met, and then it's also showing stuff that happened leading up to the trial and then some chapters of the trial. I feel like when I explain this book, it sounds kind of complicated, but it really isn't. It's a really straightforward, simple book, and I really like the writing of it. It's so bingeable. I remember when I read this book, I felt like my morals were being tested, and I felt like the people that were being betrayed, I felt so bad for them, but the people who were doing the betraying, I understood why they were doing it. And it was just such a complicated situation that these three people are going through, and everyone else in the family. And I personally had no judgment for them, because I was like, I don't know what I would do if I was in their position. I really did enjoy this one. A couple things at the end. I remember I guessed some things that happened, and then some of the things still shocked me. I feel like the ending was this entire process, and yeah, some of it I knew was coming, and some of it I was like really shocked by. So I really enjoy this. I really recommend this. I rate this one 4.5. The next book that I read and was also on my January TBR, The Winner is by Frederick Backman. This is the third book in a Beartown trilogy, so you have to read them in order. I can't even talk about this book without feeling a little bit sick. Basically, the entire Beartown trilogy is about this really small town called Beartown, and they literally have nothing but hockey. Hockey is the one thing that they have that people know them for, because their team and their players are really good, and it's the thing that drives their economy, and so it's the thing that plays a huge part in their politics. Everything in this town happens because of hockey and of how the hockey team is doing. If the hockey team is doing bad, the whole town is doing bad. If the hockey team is doing good, then we're all good. And it's just way too much pressure for some kids. But yeah, also all of the adults involved, obviously the parents, the coaches, just everyone's involved in this hockey thing, because that's all the town has, and they're very passionate about it too. So I don't even think that they mind that that's all they have. Basically, in the first book, something happens that affects the hockey team, and then in the second book, you really get to see the fallout of that huge event, like that tragedy. People say that this entire series is like really sad and they cry and stuff, and understandable. I feel like the first book for me, I was just so angry. I was like angry at the adults and how they were handling things. And then the second book, seeing all of the fallout, honestly, the second book was really good. And two things happened, like two big tragic things happened. One of them I was angry at, and I feel like the other one, I didn't really, it's not that I didn't care, I just didn't have that much feelings towards it, because it happened to someone that I didn't care about as much. I feel like the second book was kind of like calm, honestly. And then this one broke me. It's kind of crazy how I would say this is the saddest one, and this is actually the only one that made me cry. And the thing about me is, when I cry over books, I'm more so the type of person that would like tear up, or like one lone tear would be just going down my cheek, but it's not like sobbing type of cry. Like, that's not usually how I cry over books. I honestly don't even cry over many books, but this one I was choking on my tears, hiccuping, literally bawling, and I was sitting in this position, actually quite embarrassing. Glad that I was alone. This is the only book in the series that actually made me feel that way. And it's so funny, because Frederick Backman does this thing where he kind of tells you what's gonna happen from the first page, and somehow it still catches me off guard. Like, why? Another thing that's interesting about this book, I mean, I guess it's not that much of a shock because it's 670 pages, but one thing about this book, even though I find it to be the saddest one and the one that's most heartbreaking, I feel like this was the first book in the series where we just saw casual conversations of them genuinely being happy, and just like, not even being happy, but just friends talking and laughing like normal teenagers, and just genuine joy between the characters. And even the adults, like, there was so much dry humor between the adults. I found myself laughing so much. There was even a little bit of a love story between two characters that was the most precious thing ever. There's so much genuine joy in this one, but there's so much heartbreak as well, and there's I can't even think about it. This is definitely my favorite book in the series, and then Beartown, which is the first one, and then I would say Us Against You, but I think you should read this series. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I would also say check trigger warnings, but I think, honestly, I think the trigger warnings they're gonna be a spoiler for the first book, so do with that what you will. The Bright Years, another book from my TBR and another 5-star read. This is a book about a family. The mother is Lillian, the father is Ryan, and the daughter is Georgette, and they called her Jet. And this basically tells a story over 40 years. We get to see how Lillian well, not how she grew up, but we kind of get to see how Lillian and Ryan came to be the people who they are today. We get bits of their past along with who they are now. The thing about the two of them is that they're kind of keeping secrets from each other, because Ryan doesn't know that Lillian had a child that she gave up for adoption in her past, and Lillian doesn't know that Ryan is an alcoholic, and we kind of have to deal with that throughout the entire book. One thing about this book, it's so short and I feel like so much happened. I mean, it's over 40 years. It was just flowing so well. It was just so constant. There was never a break. Something was always happening, and I really loved that type of writing. It's very engaging. It's very easy to just also binge. I feel like this book just portrayed life really well, and also it portrayed alcoholism in such a realistic way. Those parts were heartbreaking to read about, but it just felt so real and raw. A random thing about this book, and this is literally in the description, and I didn't know this because I never read this description before I started reading this book, but it says Ryan and Lillian Bright. Their last name is Bright, and it's called The Bright Years. I don't know, I thought that was that was kind of cute. Another thing about names and play on words is that the daughter, they call her Jet, and her best friend that she grew up with, he loves planes. And I feel like no one talks about that. And you know what? Just keep that in mind when you're reading this book. When you finish it, remember that I pointed that out, because it's such a cute thing. I recently watched a vlog of Mally. She was doing a reading vlog, and she was reading a couple different books, and this was one of them. She actually DNF'd it. And I remember I thought her review of this book was so funny. She hated it. She thought the writing was terrible. She was saying something about millennials or something like that. I don't know. Her review was really funny. And I'm the type of person that no matter how much I love something, I still love hearing other people's points of views. I love hearing other people's opinions. And honestly, when it comes to a book or even anything movie, song, anything, when people are saying things negatively about it, I would be honestly, you're not wrong. You're so right. I still love it. But that's kind of true. It's one of those things. I never said the book was good. I said I liked it. So yeah, maybe this one could potentially be polarizing. I thought her review was really funny, and I remember I have a friend who also read this, and she said she couldn't bear all the traditional values in this book. And for me, I could just ignore that easily. I think about how it was a different time, and I think about how that's maybe not how I live my life, and that's not how I see the world, but that's how they do it, then whatever. But yeah, she really hated reading about that. So I don't know, I guess I just wanted to give some disclaimers. Do with that what you will. That doesn't seem like your type of thing. Maybe this one wouldn't be for you, but I think it's still a good book, and I still did like how it was written. I thought it was really fast paced, so bingeable. There are a couple quotes that I wanted to mention. Nothing too crazy, nothing that spoils anything, by the way. This one isn't anything life-changing, but I just agree with it. It just sat well with me. I've learned how big of a dream it is to have a small life. The cost of ambition is high. And then this other one says, you have open eyes and an open heart, a rare combination in a world where one of those usually closes the other. I really liked that too. But yeah, little bits in here I just really loved, but I understand it may not be for everyone. The next up is People Who Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, another book for my January TBR. I was on a roll. So this book is about Alex and Poppy, who met each other in college, and they go on a summer vacation every year because Poppy is like a travel writer. She has like a travel blog, and she also writes for this other travel website called R&R, Rest and Relaxation. But yeah, they go on vacations every year. It's their thing. On one of the vacations, something happens that caused them to stop talking for I think 2 years. And basically we go through these past and present timeline chapters leading up to finding out what happened in Croatia, what happened that made them fall out. And it's a really underwhelming reason, like the buildup was for nothing. Also, the vacation chapters to me are incredibly boring, and I feel like those chapters could have been such a good opportunity to build tension between the two of them and like have us really see them yearn for each other. There's none of that. It's like quite boring. This is not my favorite Emily Henry, but this was a reread, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Obviously for the movie, I rated it 2 stars the first time I read it, and I actually rated it 3 stars this time I read it because I do really love the characters, and I find Alex very charming, very wholesome, and Poppy's really funny. And I said at the end of this that I feel like I really believe in their relationship, even though I wasn't given much. I just feel like I could see them working out. And I really like the movie. I actually like the movie more. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. A lot was changed, so that is probably gonna piss a lot of people off, but I liked the movie. The next book I read was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and this is when I kind of went off track with my January TBR. I picked this up very randomly because I saw a lot of people reading it. I can't even lie, I was joining some kind of bandwagon. And I mean, Kristen Hanna never disappoints. She has such good writing, and her books to me are so gripping. Like, this is such a long book, and I think I read this quicker than some of the shorter books this month because I just needed to know what was gonna happen to these people. I felt so much for them. I felt really emotional, and this is one of the cases where I see so many people crying over this book, and I wasn't crying. I was once again angry. I was once again like disturbed. I was feeling sick to my stomach. I know we all process emotions differently, but I wasn't sad. I was angry. This book follows 2 sisters during World War II in a German-occupied France, and I feel like I love the focus on women in this book because it could often be overlooked in history, and it was hard. Obviously, it's hard. A book about war isn't meant to be comfortable, but I just found myself really miserable at some points of this book. I think at the beginning, I was like fine, and it was like what I was expecting. And as I said, it's very gripping. I just wanted to continue reading to see what was gonna happen. But then something happens where one of the sisters, her situation changed so much. And once that switch happened, I was just miserable for the rest of the book. It happened somewhere like maybe 3/4 into the book. It didn't happen like too soon, so most of it was towards the end where I was miserable. But once the switch happened, I just couldn't anymore. Like, I felt sick. So this book describes how these 2 sisters are experiencing the war and the things that they're both going through separately. And I feel like Vianne, that was her name? Yes, Vianne, her situation was a little bit more bearable, and I think it kind of showed a sense of like humanity when it came to the German soldiers. It just showed a different perspective because a German soldier was living in her house, and he wasn't horrible. He wasn't the worst person ever. It kind of showed you that obviously not all Germans were in support of what their government was doing at the time. And I felt like that was quite important. And then something happens, things changed. It was already dark, and it just got way darker and started to feel so hopeless. And that's the point. It was war. That's how they felt. So I get it. It just was hard to read about. That's all I could say. I was miserable reading it. I remember when I finished this, I literally came home and I felt exhausted. all I was doing was reading a book. I think it's also hard reading these descriptions of how the Nazis interacted with the people of France in the 1940s, which wasn't that long ago, but still in 2026, you know that these things are still happening in the world today. It's just awful to read about, knowing that enough has not changed when it really should. As usual, Kristen Hanna has really good writing. I think these historical events that happen to real people, even though this is fiction, these are things that happen to real people in real life and still happening around the world. It's important to write about, it's important to read about, and I liked lots of aspects of the book, even though I wasn't really having a good time. This is still 4 stars for me. I also have this tendency to compare authors to themselves. When I've read multiple books by one author, I think about how, okay, I liked this one more, I liked that one more, and I think this is my least favorite that I've read so far, so, which isn't bad, by the way, because I'm still rating it 4 stars. It's still good. This book is also becoming a movie. I feel like I've had this physical copy for a while, and it said soon to be a major motion picture on here, and this has been out for so long, so I've been wondering, like, where is that movie? I felt like it should have been out already. I think it said it's coming in 2027, and the cast are the Fanning sisters, and I feel like that's such an amazing casting decision. Like, that in itself made me excited for the book, even though Vianne's story haunts me, and a part of me was like, I don't think I'm gonna watch this movie, but that kind of made me excited for it. Maybe I'll see it. I don't know. It's a rough story, but I also found myself, when I was reading this, just feeling very grateful, and just, I always practice gratitude, but more than usual, I just felt grateful for the very basic things in life, basic to us, and not everyone has it. Food, clothing, clean water. I just found myself like sitting thinking, thank God for all of this. And it's something that you could just take for granted. You wake up every day and it's like you expect it to be there because that's how you've always lived. But reading the way they once had a time where it was always there for them and then they lost it, it's just, yeah, it was a rough book. I see why people are sad through this, but I think maybe I just have anger issues, so I'm more inclined to be angry than sad. I say read this when your mental health is very good. Actually, maybe not, because it might ruin your mood, but if you're not doing well, this will probably make you worse. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars though. I need to take a break. I feel like I was talking for too long. By the way, there's snow on the ground right now. Random, but like when it snows in the south, it feels very crazy. It feels unnatural. All right, moving on. So the next book that I attempted to read was Mayluna, and I DNF'd this, the first DNF of the year. This book is about a really famous band and a woman who inspired a lot of their songs and their music and their albums, whatever. She was a reporter who interviewed them. That's how they met. And I'm pretty sure she had a romantic thing with the lead. I actually don't know. I didn't get far enough to know. It shows chapters of the past and when they were first meeting and whatever, when she interviewed them. But it also shows like the now. She got married, she had kids, and she's just like living a normal life away from a band and fame and all of that. One of my biggest things with this book was I just felt myself thinking, can you get to the point? Like, just get to the point. I said that so many times throughout my 70 pages of reading this. I was just like, get to the point. For example, in some of the beginning chapters, she needed to tell her kids about her past. Like she felt like she needed to tell them for whatever reason it was, like this was me and this, I knew this band or whatever, because the band is like famous now and her kids know this band, but they have no idea that these songs they hear on the radio are literally about their mother. And so she felt the need to tell them. And I was just like, okay, so go tell them. Like, get to the point, girl. Like, it's just just pages and pages and pages of her like, I need to tell them. I need to tell them. I need to tell. Okay, so tell them. I was so frustrated. And then leading up to their first interview and their first meeting or whatever, I feel like the parts about her like getting ready, like I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care that you're wearing shorts and Doc Martens or whatever. Like, just go interview them. I didn't like the writing of this book. Also, the lead singer of the band, he is obsessed with like cosmic timing and the stars and whatever and whatever. And he would talk about this, and I can tell that it's meant to be written in a way that's like lyrical and really emotional and stuff, but I just found it kind of corny. Like, imagine talking to a man in real life and he's talking about cosmic time and all of that. Like, I think I would actually laugh at him. I'm sorry. I feel like the thing that bothers me about this book is that I kind of feel like it has potential to get better, and I feel like somewhere in the middle to the end, good things probably happen, or like interesting things probably happen, and I'm still so curious about it, but I just couldn't. Like, 70 pages and you've given me nothing. 70 pages of a nothing burger. If you finish this book and you love it, please convince me to go back to it down below, or tell me it gets better. Or if you finished it and it doesn't get better, let me know so I can forget about it. But I'm so curious about it still, and I feel like there's potential somewhere down the line. But I also know that if I finish this, my review is probably gonna be, could have been 100 pages less, because how am I 70 pages in? I feel like you've given me absolutely nothing. This book is almost 400 pages, by the way, which I already know my review would be too long, cut 100 pages, because you gave me 70 pages of absolutely nothing. If you've read this and you like it, let me know. Let me know if it gets better, because I'm still a little bit curious. I just couldn't with the nothing burger and the side of nothing fries. Finding Grace. I was straying from my TBR once again because the TBR was failing me with Mayluna. Anyway, Finding Grace is, I feel like I need to be really vague because the description of this book gives you nothing. It really does not prepare you for what you're about to read. So I'm also gonna keep it vague, and I'm not gonna give anything away because this was so good, and I felt like that made the experience perfect. This is another 5-star read for me, by the way. Didn't expect to have 3 5-star reads in January. Like, that's kind of crazy, and definitely didn't expect this one to be a 5-star read. But anyway, this book is about a woman named Honor, and she has a husband named Tom and a daughter named Chloe, and they're this very cute, perfect family, and they're good. They're all good, they're happy, whatever. But the thing that is like causing a strain between her relationship with Tom at the moment is that she really wants another child, and she is so determined to do it. She's willing to get a surrogate. She's just 100% wants another child. And yeah, that causes some tensions between them. And something huge happens to their family, and it changes their family forever. And I kind of feel like that's all I can say without spoiling it. I feel like this book is very strange. The point of view that we're in when we're reading this is unlike anything I've ever read. And it took me like a second to get used to. Once you get used to it, it's so interesting. And this book is so addicting. The way that it's written, I always wanted to pick it up. I was just always like, okay, I'm going to the gym now. I want to read it on the treadmill. Like, I constantly wanted to read this book. It was addicting. And the characters are unlikable. You're not gonna like them, but you're going to be entertained. And the things that they're doing is like so wrong. But again, you're gonna be entertained. Just know that you're better than this, and you're better than these people, but you're going to be entertained. Also, Tom, I was reading lots of reviews on this book, and everyone was like so against Tom. He needs therapy. He definitely needs help. He needs serious help, but I kind of liked him. I think if you're a sane person, you'll hate Tom, but I kind of liked Tom, so I don't know what that says about me. In my Goodreads review of this book, I described it as an unhinged romance, and that's all I can say about it. I think that's the perfect description of it, because there were romantic elements in here. And that's that. Unhinged romance. New favorite genre. And the final book for my January TBR, Bittersweet by Hattie Williams. I have a entire vlog reading this book, and it was the first time I ever did a vlog where I only focused on one book and I went into great detail with spoilers of a book and really dissecting what I liked and didn't like, and mostly just ranting. And so I'm not gonna do too much with this one since there's a whole video on it. But this book is about a 23-year-old woman. She turns 24 eventually in the book, and she works in a publishing house, and that's where she meets her literary idol, Richard, and they end up having an affair. Richard is married. He's also 33 years older than her. That's like the major thing. It's just wrong in so many ways. The age, the power imbalance, everything. Everything's wrong about it. I've mentioned what I don't like about this book is I feel like Charlie was the main character. She was written to be too naive. I think that's more realistic if someone in their teenage years, someone in high school, like in My Dark Vanessa, if it was like that, it would be more realistic for them to be this naive. But she was 23, 24. It doesn't feel real. I feel like she should have known how this was gonna end for her, and she should have understood what was gonna happen when it comes to having a relationship with an older married man. Not that I'm blaming her, but with age should come some wisdom, and the choices that she was making, she should have known what the outcome would be. Like, it's fine if that's what you want to do, but don't be shocked when there are consequences to an affair with a married man that you work for, if that makes sense. Also, the way that she was acting just like such a little lovesick puppy and like literally waking up in cold sweats over this man, that part didn't feel realistic to me either. I just feel like someone who's 23 or 24 would understand that an affair is an affair. You know, it's not this great love, it's an affair. Anyway, the thing that I liked about it is that the author of this book, Hattie Williams, she didn't romanticize this man at all. She basically laid it out plain for us that he was a disgusting old man who's taking advantage of someone who admires him, someone who's a lot younger than him. He's cheating on his wife, and like, yeah, there was no romance. He wasn't charming, he wasn't attractive, and none of that was described in the book, and I appreciate that, because that's the reality of a lot of these relationships. It's not romantic. It's just abusive. I also liked how real the ending was. Everything, the outcome and the consequences of this ending, it was painfully real. I really didn't like what happened, what ended up happening to the both of them, but that's just how it would end up. Like, I just know this is what would happen in real life. So I like that. It was very raw and vulnerable, and I appreciate that. I did say that I would read more by this author, but I just, not on this topic. I guess it's a little sensitive, I don't know. But yeah, I talk way more about this book in my last vlog, so I won't do too much. So the results of if I read my January TBR, I'm gonna just say yes, because I tried with Mayluna. I just happened to DNF it. And I also did say when I make these TBRs, I want it to at least be me reading. If there's 6 of them, I want to read at least 4 or 5 of them. So I read 5 out of 6 books on my January TBR, and I did attempt to read the 6th one. It just didn't agree with me. So I would say that's a success, and we get to pick a February TBR now. I wanted to talk about one single movie. I watched lots of movies in January, and I'm not doing a movie wrap up, but the one movie that I was so obsessed with is Sinners. I watched it for the first time in January. I'm very late to the game because I'm pretty sure this is a movie that came out spring of last year, or somewhere around that time. I don't know exactly when, but it was like earlier in the year. It's a 2025 release, and I'm just so late to the game. I love it so much. I watched it 2 days before it broke the record for most Oscar nominations, and I was like, obsessing over it, telling everyone about it, even though people were like, girl, shut up, I literally watched that months ago. Like, why are you telling me that about that now? Even though I was so late about it, I watched it, I couldn't shut up about it, and then it got all those Oscar nominations. I was like, I know what I'm saying. Like, they get me. The funniest part about me in that movie is that I hate musicals. I feel like I've mentioned that before on my channel. I hate musicals so much. And I didn't know anything about this movie before I started watching it. I didn't know that it was a musical. And it honestly took me so long to find out that it was a musical, because I was like, I think on the 4th song, I was like, why are they singing? Is this a musical? And I literally had to pause it and look up, is Sinners a musical? Like, I know you guys probably think I'm so stupid, but I had no prior knowledge. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I'm so glad that I didn't know, because if I saw it was a musical, I wouldn't have watched it. That's how much I hate musicals, and I'm so glad I gave it a chance, because the songs were so good in that movie. I don't feel like they broke out into song too much. It was just so good. Also, I just want to say, I feel like when I read reviews of it, a lot of people were annoyed by like the whole hour of build-up. There's like a whole hour of introduction and just introducing the characters, some backstory and all of that, and people didn't like that. And I will not accept any criticism on this movie, because you had to get connected to the characters and learn their backstory and learn all of the connections they have to each other and how much they mean to each other for it to matter when they started killing each other. Like, it would, if they just started killing each other 10 minutes into the movie, it literally wouldn't matter. No one would care. The whole part about the vampires wouldn't even hit if we didn't know how connected these people were and how much they loved and cared about each other and what their history with each other was. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not accepting criticism on this movie. I know I said earlier when I was talking about The Bright Years that I love hearing different opinions. Not on this one. Keep that away from me. If you don't like it, I don't want to hear it. I love it so much. I also don't really like horror, the genre. Like, honestly, the description of this movie is kind of my worst nightmare. Horror and a musical. Like, I love vampires, but I feel like the vampire things that I've watched, they're not exactly scary in any way. They're like Twilight and the Vampire Diaries, like, that's fun. That's really all I knew about the movie, that it had vampires in it, and that was the one thing that made me want to watch it. But horror and musical, didn't know those two parts, and if I did know, I would have stayed far away from it, and I'm so glad I didn't know. So glad I watched it. I think it's one of the greatest movies I've ever watched, and I do not want to hear any bad thing you have to say about it. Also, 2 Michael B. Jordans. What a beautiful movie. Anyway, if you haven't watched Sinners yet, which you probably have because I'm the last person to watch Sinners, you should go watch it. It's the best thing ever. So for my February TBR, I know in January, I was choosing books some books I didn't even have on my physical TBR yet. I had to go out and buy them. It's just like what I wanted to read at the time. I had a book from Kindle, all over the place, but this time I chose books very specifically from my physical TBR. So I've got Loved One and Such Good People. These are 2 books that I am just so interested in the premise of these, and I feel like I've heard lots of great things about this book, and there was a time where it was just like trending. It was doing rounds and a lot of people love it, so I want to read it for myself, see how I feel about it. This is a book that I don't feel like I've heard a lot of people talking about, but the premise of it just sounds so good to me, and so I picked this up randomly. Finally gonna get to those. I have Animal by Lisa Taddeo. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. This is a book that I bought randomly one time. I've been wanting to read a book by this author, and I picked this one up. I don't know if this is her first book. I think 3 Women might be her first book. Yeah, I think 3 Women might be her first book, but I've just wanted to try something by this author, and this is the one that I own, so random. No specific reason why I chose to read this, but on my TBR, so I should get to it. And then this one, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, is a book that I'm reading in February because of Valentine's Day, and I feel like a lot of people call this the origin of romance, the origin of yearning, and I don't know, I just finally feel in the mood to get to it. I think this is the oldest book on my TBR. I'm not beating myself up for not reading it yet. I think it's one of those books that you should read it when you are in the mood for it, and I think I'm finally in the mood for it. I finally want to know. I'm really curious about it. I've heard such great things, and so yeah, my first ever Jane Austen. I hope I love it as much as everyone else. I love Like the Sun. This is another romance book that I'm throwing on there for the sake of Valentine's Day. I don't know how much I will be in the mood to read romance this month. It's not what I've been naturally gravitating to recently, but I feel like I should throw some romance in there, and I feel like this one could potentially be a more heartfelt, emotional romance, which is always the best type of romance for me. So I'm excited for this and I hope I love it. I've heard great things. I think this is like set in summertime, but it doesn't matter. I'm not waiting around for a specific season to read the books that I want to read anymore. That was on one of my New Year's resolutions. Anyway, the last book I have here is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. I've always wanted to read a book by Emily Austen. This is one that I bought recently. I think I bought it in my New Year reset when I was book shopping, and this is a really short book. I specifically wanted to do more shorter books in February because February is a shorter month in general. So yeah, put this one on here just for the sake of the length. So those are the 6 books going on the February TBR, and let's see if we're gonna do a good job of completing them. Let's see if we're gonna get 6 out of 6 this time instead of 5 out of 6. Fingers crossed. I hope I don't DNF anything. I hope I get to all these. I really feel like I could, but we'll see. I was gonna come update about Table for One halfway through, but honestly, it just goes by so fast. Like, it's overall a pretty short book, and then I feel like the way that it's formatted, like, there's just not a lot of words on one single page. But anyway, I am now on part 3, which is like 207 pages in, so I'm close to the end. Basically, when I picked this book up, I knew it was about a woman who had all of her things together. She had her life together. She had a long-term partner. She had a successful career, and they had a house that they owned together. They lived together. So she, like, you know, I guess had all the things that you should have in your 30s or whatever they say. And I knew that she was gonna lose it. And I knew that she was going to be focused on self-love after that. I know that that's what the book was about. I guess I just didn't expect the boyfriend to be there. In the beginning of the book, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Like, we got to see their relationship a little bit, and then we also get to see how they broke up and how everything just fell apart. I didn't expect that. I honestly thought it was just gonna start and we were gonna be thrown into it and she was already gonna be like in the mess of her life. That was good for some backstory. There were some, well, there are some past and present chapters, and the past chapters at first showed how their relationship was when it was just beginning and the good and just throughout the years and stuff like that. And I think that was really useful. But now I feel like, as far in as I am, because obviously they've already broken up, the past chapters are getting kind of irrelevant. I don't know, they just feel a little bit silly. One of them was literally about one of her school trips, and it does have to do with her friends, like the friends that she has now. It shows flashbacks of them too, and I think the author of this book is trying to like relate it to what she's going through now and showing a past chapter and just like comparing it. But I just feel like it's not hitting the mark exactly. I just feel like the past chapters on the relationship at the beginning, those made a lot of sense, and it added something to the book, and now it doesn't feel like these past chapters are adding anything. And they're really short. They're like 2 pages, 1.5, and it's just like, you can tell they feel a bit irrelevant. The way that they broke up was so crazy. Are men even real? And I feel like it's so hard to watch her like think about things. Like, she would find something in her apartment, she would be like, I think she found some crystals, and she would be like, he made fun of her for that, and like little things like that. And she's thinking back on it, and I'm just like, did he ever even like you? Like, hard to watch any woman be down bad for a man. Like, I don't want this for anyone, but she's working through it. She's doing an article on this social media influencer who her entire thing is self-love and not wanting a relationship and being alone and all of that. And they have such contrasting views on life and relationships, and it's really interesting as the reader to watch them and their opposing views come together. But also all of her friends are like in different places of life, and seeing them kind of move on without her, sad, but it feels real. I feel like it's so interesting to be reading this right now. One of my friends, she's pregnant, and I feel like sometimes my brain is like, am I supposed to be doing these things? Am I supposed to be wanting these things? Like, in 10 years, am I gonna regret not starting a family earlier or something? Like, it's just something I really don't want right now. But sometimes I think, am I supposed to be doing this? Is it something that I'm gonna regret later? And so this book, it's really interesting to come across this book at this time, because I was literally having that thought very, very recently. But yeah, reading about I think she's 35, and she did start that life earlier, and she thought she was going down the right path, and it still didn't work out. So it's making me feel good. I think the last thing I want to say about this book, that it feels very millennial. It feels very girl power, girl boss. And I don't mean that as an insult. Okay, maybe a little bit. For the most part, it's not an insult, but I just feel like if you know what I'm describing, you just know. Anyway, I'm gonna head to the library, finish it there, and then return it. And when I get back home, I'll tell you what I'm gonna rate it. Honestly, it feels a little bit underwhelming, and I'm hoping the last 100 and something pages really like dives in more to her, I guess, the self-love journey that she's gonna be on, or I don't know. I feel like right now it's just very slice of life and her everyday life, which is like fine too, but I'm looking for something more. You know, it's really cold out there when I'm drinking a hot coffee. But anyway, I'm sitting here because I'm thinking about unhauling some books. I don't even know if my library is taking donations right now, but I'll just take them and see if they want them or not. If not, I could also put them in the little free library that's at my apartment, but I'll see what happens. So 2 books that I know for sure I want to unhaul: Powerless by Lauren Roberts and Reckless by Lauren Roberts. When I read Powerless, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was good. I didn't love it as much as everyone else. I feel like people have this in like the highest of high ratings, 6-star reads, and I definitely didn't feel that way about it, but it was fine. I liked it. I also was very curious about how it was gonna go, how it was gonna end. And then this one came out, Reckless. I feel like everyone's review of this is that nothing much really happens, and it's really repetitive to this one. But then there's one big thing at the end, and it feels like a filler book because of this. And the thing is that I already got the spoiler for what happens at the end, so I just feel like there's no point. I also was holding on to it because I thought I was gonna forget what the spoiler was. I'm usually very good at forgetting when I find out spoilers of things, because my memory's not the best, but I still remember. And even though I'm a little bit curious, I am not curious enough to ever reach for it and pick it up and read it. So maybe I'll just look up spoilers, but yeah, these are definitely going. The Neighbor Favor, I know so many of you love this book, and I feel like I really wanted to get into this because the second and the third book in this series sounds so good to me, but I just can't with this one. I've tried 3 different times and it just doesn't work for me. I can't get through it. I can't get past. My bookmark is literally in here. I cannot get past page 30, so that one's gonna go. I have Throne of the Fallen. I literally just never look at this book. I think I still have some curiosity when it comes to fantasy books, but I don't know. I just have to be in a specific mood for them, and that mood has not been there in a while. I do have these here. I mean, I read this one, and then this is the one that I haven't read yet. I'm still so curious about this. These were in the pile here because I was like so close to being like, I can give it up. But then I saw one person raving about it, and I'm just like, I kind of want to know. I kind of want to know. I'll just leave it here for now. Although I don't even think I could donate this one. I'm pretty sure I wrote in this one. I underlined something. I actually don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, we'll leave these for now. But these are the books that I'm gonna attempt to donate. Finding Grace came in the mail. I didn't expect to because they said snowstorms were causing delays, so I thought this was gonna come in like a week or two. But I love this cover so much. I know that authors don't have a lot of say in what their covers are gonna be, and God, that would piss me off so badly, but I feel like some authors, they really win the lottery, because this cover, it's so perfect for the story. Obviously the two women who look alike, that works so well for the story, but also, I don't know if you can tell, this is like thread. And when I originally saw this cover, I thought that they were sticks, and it was just like an artistic choice, but it's thread, and I'm guessing it is an artistic choice because I feel like it looks so cool, but also I feel like there is some significance there. I like to think it's a symbol for putting your life back together, sewing the pieces back together. Anyway, I love this book. It's not for everyone, but I love it. And I think you should read it. You'd be entertained if you read it. No promises that you're gonna actually like anyone. So I finished Table for One at the library, returned it, and I don't know, I just feel like the timing of me reading that felt right. Like the universe wanted me to hear that. I think it turned out to be such a sweet story about all the women in her life and her friendships and just what's important to her. And there's a part on the cover that says it's a modern day love story, and I really appreciate that. I feel like it didn't dive into self-love enough though. I mean, I feel like we didn't get it enough from the main character, but there was just like so much going on in other people's lives. Like, I think she was seeing it more so from the woman in her life, and we got it more from them, and it was like a lesson she was learning instead of fully practicing it. Of course, by the end of it, it all comes full circle and she definitely like gets the point, but yeah, instead of it coming mostly from her, it was coming from side characters, and that it was just a different way to tell the story. I think I just didn't expect that, but yeah, it ended up being a really sweet story. I loved all of her friends, the women in her life. It was nice. I think it's slightly underwhelming because nothing major really happens, but I really enjoyed the bigger picture, and I'm gonna rate that one 3 stars. I didn't get anything from the library. I didn't pick anything up. I feel like when I was looking, I was gravitating towards some really sad books, and I'm trying my best to like balance sad books and some more hopeful books because I feel like I was reading a lot of sad books in January. They also took my book donations, which I'm very happy about. They said once it was in good condition and it wasn't like too much, then it'll all be fine. They also gave me this bookmark that I think is so cute. It has a heart cut out. I'm guessing it's for Valentine's Day. Very cute. I just realized it's Tuesday, and that means the new episode of Tell Me Lies comes out. Actually, I think it's out already. It comes out at like 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. I think that's how it goes. I think it's out. If it's out, I'm watching that tonight. I love that show so much. I never read the book. I once did want to read it, but then so much time passed, and then I was like, I don't really care anymore. And then I just watched the show, and it's such a good show. It's so painfully real, and it honestly, Steven, he scares me so much. It's like, I consider that show to be horror. That's my version of horror. But yeah, it's really good. I'm gonna watch that. Also, I watched His and Hers, the show that's based on that Alice Feeney book. I have only ever read one book by Alice Feeney, and I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy the way that it was written, but I really liked the plot twist. Like, I just wasn't having a good time while I was reading it, but then I got to the end, I'm like, that was actually a good plot twist. Like, I can't even lie. Her ideas were great. I just didn't like the way that it was written. And so I didn't bother to even attempt to read His and Hers, just went to the show. Such a good show. It's so good. And honestly, as I was watching it, I have no regrets about watching the show without reading the book, because I'm just like, knowing how she writes, I would have probably hated this book too. But such a good show, and I love the plot twist. She has great plots, so like, I understand the hype. I just don't like the way that they're written. So Bridgerton is also back. I watched one episode. I loved it. I feel like I'm back to my TV shows. For a while there, I was only watching movies, and now TV shows, they're drawing me in again. I just realized all of those are based on books that I never read, because I never read the Bridgerton books either. I'm finally going to stick the little pictures in my reading journal because I finally got tape glue. That's all I needed. I also am changing my TBR update. I'm actually changing out Pride and Prejudice for Wuthering Heights because the movie comes out literally next week. And I originally knew that I wanted to see the movie, and I didn't really have any plans to read the book. I was just like, it's fine, like I can read it in the future. I've heard that it's so different, and a part of me was just like, it's okay, like I can watch the movie first and then read it later. But literally today, for some reason, I changed my mind, and I do want to read the book. So I'm putting that on my TBR instead of Pride and Prejudice, because I just feel like I don't want two classics on my TBR. I don't want to set myself up for failure. I don't know how much in the mood I will be to read classics. So maybe we'll still get to Pride and Prejudice. I don't know, but I'm switching it out just for this month because I want to go see the movie literally in a couple days. So yeah, that's that. I don't even own Wuthering Heights. I have to either get it on Kindle, go buy it, or audiobook something, but I don't know. I just randomly got really intrigued by the idea of reading it before going to watch it. I always knew I was gonna go watch it because Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. I was just always intrigued by it, and then the Charlie XCX album that's attached to it. The marketing is working on me, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm gonna see it, and I would like to read the book, compare, just have all of the knowledge. So yeah, we're switching that out and putting it on screen. That's the new TBR. That's what we're working with. That's my simple reading journal. Don't read that if you can see the words. There's major spoilers in there, but just the title the author, the translator, how many stars I rated it, the date, and now the picture. And at the end, I always write down pages of the annotations, but for this one specifically, I had too many pages, so I guess that's something I'll do sometimes, or sometimes if one specific quote like really spoke to me, I write that at the end. But yeah, that's my reading journal this year. I think I'm ending this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you got to this point of the video, comment a star. I would also love to know what was your favorite book of January, and also what are you excited for in February on your TBR, and also happy Black History Month. Thank you again so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!